Check the feed. All right, we good. All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
All right, so brothers from Great Millstone, Charlotte, coming back with another Lord willing edifying lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And before we get started with this lesson, we want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say shalom.
Shalom.
All right, so pretty much as you see in the title of this video, okay, this one is go in the spirit, and what we're seeing, all right, is Babylon the Great is really through Esau Edom is showing Jake, its true colors, its true feelings of how they really look at you, so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, because the true narrative that's being pumped on the media is that Jake is the face of all the problems in the world, man. All right, Jake is he's the face of sex trafficking. All right, he's the face of drug dealing. He's the face of violence. All right, and you had Trump, mention about how they're about to pretty much allow these police, free reign to put their foot up Jake ass, man. So we're seeing the Lord beginning to rouse up that spirit of hate in the earth. Matter of fact, could you get that in Ecclesiastes 3 first, then we'll go to that Psalms.
Verse 1.
Yeah, we'll start at verse 1 and read down to a couple of verses. But what the Lord is doing is pretty much, showing the climate that we're in. All right. And it's important for you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, all right, to understand that we have enemies, and our enemy, the biggest enemy, which is Esau Edom, is about to come down with that great wrath upon Jake, because we're entering into the time of Jacob's trouble, which the Lord is about to, focus in his judgment on you rebellious Jakes. You got it.
Khan. Zakwa Allah, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 1. In the subtitle, it says, a time for everything. Verse 1, it says, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing.
Okay, did we get to the part about the time of hate?
Yeah, I'm gonna skip down. I'll read. You want me to read down or just go straight to the point?
You just go right to the point. That's the main part.
Ecclesiastes 3 and 8, it says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace.
Right, and that's what we're witnessing, man. All right, the Lord is pretty much showing us the climate that we are in, because as we're reading, we're not in the time of coming together. That kumbaya, we're all one people, we're all human race. The Lord is dismissing that spirit out the earth, man. All right, so we are seeing that the Lord is pretty much stirring up the spirit of division in the earth, like the scriptures tell you, and I believe that's in Luke, where it said that the Lord is pretty much bringing the spirit of division, man. All right, so as we're seeing, all right, these race wars are pretty much brewing, man, and that spirit of Esau versus Jake, man, is being pumped more and more, because as we're seeing the racial tension throughout these different things. You had the situation before we play this video with the Carmelo Anthony dude, how he murked the Edomite. All right, you just had a new one that came out today. It was a Jake that killed a 13-year-old, that was a 13-year-old Edomite boy that was playing a ding dong ditch, at his house. He tried to kick his door in around 3 a.m, and he opened the door and blasted him. All right. You had the Tyrese Nichols situation. The cops got off. So the Lord is pretty much bringing this this spirit of Esau and Jacob. All right, because these are the main two people in the Lord's story that is that's about to come to a head, man. Because we got the sons of the wicked versus the sons of the power, man. All right. So you Jakes out there that still don't look at Esau Edom as the devil, you're gonna get caught up in the middle of all this, man. All right.
I'll quick one if I can.
You got it.
This is Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 1, it says the burden of Egypt, in which when you go into a burden, it's something that's a heavy lift or something that has to be carried, something to look forward to. So it
Mm-hmm.
says the burden of Egypt. All right, Egypt represents bondage, and it's talking about America, Babylon the Great. So it says, "Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence." Which the Lord Yahweh Shai, is going to be riding on that father ship. All right, and it says, "Shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." All right, and one of those, back in ancient Egypt, was a lot of they had a lot of different idols, but the Lord essentially made an open shoe and a mockery of those idols. You see, but one idol that is very predominant today, all right, is that the idea or the idol. I think it's Baal Peor, the community, going into verse 2. But yeah, Baal Berith. But it says, I'm gonna read again. It says in the latter, it says, "Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." So the American dream, the white picket fence, the dog, the house, that's out of here. Essentially, the housing market is shot. Verse 2, pretty much going to the idol of the community, but it says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." And that's ultimately going into end fight, and that's how ancient Egypt went down as well. You see, but in this present Egypt 2.0, all right, you got the Egyptians against the Egyptians, all right, with Jake, all right, and Esau, because Esau, in this society has pushed the mindset of everybody should be one people. So Jake is in that mindset of, okay, well, everybody just get along, everybody we all the same, you see, but the Lord is essentially bringing back to remembrance that, hey, like you said, we got enemies.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is why you're seeing that narrative constantly being pumped, and Trump is the main one, adding fuel to the fire, because as he's been, saying throughout his, his different interviews and meetings, that so-called, blacks and even the Northern Kingdom, that they're a problem, man. They're violent, they're thugs, that they need increased police presence, because they don't want they don't want to get robbed and all that. So the narrative of Jake is this violent, thug, is being pushed, because this was something that was pushed in the early 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. Jake is the thug. You gotta watch the white women. But this is more and more of what we're seeing, that Esau is building a narrative so that they have a justified reason to come down on Jake. All right. And I got this video on the screen as a good, indication to show you that, hey, the Lord is stirring up the spirit on both sides, man. Because what you see in this video with this individual, for those that's not familiar, the dude, that's pretty much in the orange, he had his son got murdered by a cop, and so he took revenge by going to driving his car into another this a whole different department of police, but he killed random police, I think it was one or two people, or I want to say it was one, but he killed them. And then as he's getting arrested, you see the pride on him, because as you know, once you kill an Edomite, especially a cop, they all try to intimidate you when you're being sentenced, to show you the solidarity that they're showing amongst themselves, to try to scare you, because you already know, all right, Esau has ties within them prison systems, the Aryan Brotherhood and whatnot. They're gonna get at this Jake, man.
If they don't get to him before he make it to like a cell, because they call professions like that, the largest gangs in the world, and that's because how Esau creates their society to where everybody there is for one another. So they probably touch him up before he even reach it, to like a cell or something like that, But that's how Esau get down.
Fine. And so this is why, at the end of the day, you Jakes can't move like how Esau moved, man. All right. Hey, Esau can get revenge for his fellow brother, because this is his kingdom. All right. But for Jake, man, what we're seeing, you can't move like that, man. What you think you can do, as we've been seeing the instances of the different, people trying to be like Esau, it's not gonna work out for you, because hey, the Most High is gonna allow these Edomites to get busy on you 2/3, man. Because as we know, like I said, this is his kingdom. So you touch one Edomite, it's like you go to war with all of them, man. They're like like a killer bee swarm, man. All right, you touch one of them, they're gonna come after you, man. You know. Could you get that Psalm 73?
Okay. This is Psalm 73 and verse 1. I'm gonna read the subtitle. It says, "The end of the wicked contrasted with that of the righteous." So it says Psalm 73 and 1. Truly the Most High is good to Yashar Allah, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone, my steps had well nigh slipped, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked.
Right, because you got Jake that's really jealous of how these Edomites get down, man. All right, now I want to bring to attention dealing with that Jake that killed those cops. Hey, there was a GoFundMe that was made for the nigga, and the GoFundMe they took it down. You know, I got that. You know, I want to play that real quick. You know, but it shows you the hypocrisy of Babylon, because we have all these different stories of these Edomites that, you know, these police Edomites that killed Jake get sent on administrative leave, and they get, you know, thousands to millions of dollars raised up. But then when a Jake do it, it don't work out the same, because this is Esau's kingdom. All right. Hold on, I'll play it real quick.
Tied in to rally Jake up, right?
Ohio law enforcement got a big apology from GoFundMe. The online fundraising platform issued a statement after campaigns supporting Rodney Hinton Jr. racked up donations over the weekend. WCPO 9 News reporter Valerie Lyons spoke with the local Fraternal Order of Police, who say GoFundMe did the right thing.
You see? Hey, these Edomites are showing you, and like one of the elder brothers said, you know, this is a good tactic, because, you know, Esau can't allow Jake to have that boost in confidence, you know. They gotta keep Jake low.
And that's a good point the elder made, because like you said, Esau doesn't want Jake to feel that confidence, to feel like they're you know, coming up over them. This is why at every point in time that he tries to humble our people, all right, he will show that. And a prime example, as we seen the situation dealing with Deion Sanders and his sons, man. Okay, because Esau Edom had to publicly buck break both his sons, but mainly his son Shador, to show you, like, look, you're not bigger than this program, which is the NFL. Because when you look at, you know, the whole scenario with that, hey, Deion was pretty much sitting there saying that he wasn't going to allow his son to play for certain teams. Now, to the average person that don't see nothing wrong with that, you know, you had the same situation with Archie Manning, you know, dealing with his son Eli. All right, when Eli got drafted, he wasn't originally drafted by the Giants, man. He was drafted by the Chargers, and he said he wasn't going to allow his son to play for no sorry team. And so Deion tried to do the same thing that Archie Manning did, and like I said, his sons had to pay the price for that, man. All right, so just showing you, and we're not in the same case as Esau, man. So that verse 3, as it says, man, and we saw our people are envious at the wicked, because Esau can literally do whatever he wants. But when Jake tries to do the same thing, Esau always reminds you that you're just a nigga, man. You know?
Continuing on, Psalm 73 and verse 4 says, "For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm."
Go ahead.
"They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men."
Right. So this is why they can you know, do these different things and get off, man. They can murder Jake in cold blood. All the evidence shows that he's guilty, and yet he'll get a pat on the back, man. You know, they'll sit there and fire the nigga, and then he gets in the same situation. He'll have a GoFundMe made for him, raise up thousands to millions of dollars, and he's set for life, like you saw with George Zimmerman when he killed Trayvon Martin, man. You know, but the hypocrisy, like I said, the same thing that was tried to be done for this Jake that killed those cops. GoFundMe removed, you know, the fundraisers. They said, nah, he can't have that money, man. You know, finish it out real quick.
You know, so they had to do this because this would have brought more fear with these Edomites as well, right? But again, it's all tied into what? Again, the Lord stirring up that jealousy, that rage, that hate, man. Right?
Mallory Lyons spoke with the local Fraternal Order of Police, who say GoFundMe did the right thing.
There was outrage.
Cincinnati's FOP president is talking about these. More than a dozen fundraisers for a man accused intentionally killing a deputy. They started popping up on GoFundMe Saturday, not long after Rodney Hinton Jr. made his first court appearance.
You've got officers, you have community members that are trying to process the fact that we've had a deputy murdered, only to see that somebody's trying to raise money for somebody that's accused of killing a cop.
But during my interview with Ken Kober Tuesday, we spoke about the fundraisers in the past.
But that's the thing, though. See, Esau's been getting away for centuries, murdering Jake in cold blood. And now they got these body cameras. They still killing Jake and getting off, man.
Right, but then, like I said, you had situations like George Zimmerman. He wasn't even a police officer. He was acting like he was, deputized. He was self-deputized in his mind, but he went and killed Jake in cold blood and got off, and then was sitting there parading the gun. I think he sold it on Facebook or something. Was made mockery, had pictures with Skittles and whatnot. But Esau can do shit like that, man. But see, Jake doesn't realize that, look, this is our captivity. You can't think that you're going to be afforded the same, opportunities as this devil is, man, because you're in oppression and he's ruling, man. You got it.
Okay. Back to Psalm 73 and verse 6, it says, therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment.
Right. So this is why Esau can kill your ass in cold blood and not feel guilty about it, man. Because he understands that, hey, we're still under, different slave codes and laws that never was abolished just because you were so-called, emancipated, all right, from chattel slavery, man. It was a law, if I remember correctly, it was called the Casual Killing Act, to where Esau, when he was beating his slaves, if they killed you, all right, he wasn't held accountable by measures of the court, because you Jakes were viewed as property, man. So it's like they had an insurance policy for the slaves in case they beat them to death, man. So that shit never went away. That's still being upheld through the justice system as we see right now, man.
Okay. It says, I'm gonna read it back from the top. It says Psalm 73 and 6. It says, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. And ultimately, they walk in great pride. A lot of times, and people in specific jobs like that, just Esau in general, but specifically jobs like that, a lot of times they take that badge, to heart, and when you go into the word for pride, it's ga'ah, which means carrying strength. So it's a false sense of strength, to where it makes them feel as if they got that type of indemnity, in which they do, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it says,
if I can add, because that badge and that gun, hey, that gives Esau a hard on for power, because he feels like he can do whatever the hell he wants. Because like I said, giving that crazy nigga a gun along with that badge, man. Hey, they will literally exercise that power to the fullest, man, and completely in the wrong, man, and not get in trouble for that shit.
Right. It's even so much so to where it'll be the movies. They have like they had them. That's where the word officer comes from. Overseer. They had the slave patrol. They would give them a badge, you see. But modern day the slave patrols is nothing more than deputy sheriffs, police officers, and they take that title and they ultimately move about with that pride. And then in this latter part of this verse, Psalm 73 and 6, it says, "Violence covered them as a garment." So that's what they wear. A lot of times you'll see people. They'll be abusing the power. That's ultimately because they have gotten deputized by Esau Edom. This is his kingdom.
And just going back to what you were saying about how that parallels with slavery. That's why one of the old names for cops was talking about the paddy wagon, which they would use to pretty much round up runaway slaves, man. So like you said, the police are nothing more than modern day slave catchers. And really, when you go into that badge, it goes back to the I believe it's the Rothschilds, man. That's a symbol of their I forgot exactly how it's worded, but pretty much that links back to them, man. That's that pentagram, it's showing you that Satanism too, because we know it's witches, high level witchcraft dealing with that police shit too, man. You got it.
Right. Verse 7, it says, their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than the heart could wish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to touch on it. It says their eyes stand out with fatness. They already had the fatness of the earth, you see, but you got, Edomites that be in, these governmental positions to where they might receive funds, for, say, it might be a jail or something like that, but they take that money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they embezzle it and use it for themselves, So it says their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than the heart could wish. They can't get no more,
Right.
The Lord already gave them the fatness of the earth.
But they have everything. They have Jake in subjection, and they'll take it upon themselves just to put even more hell on Jake, man. Like you had, back in the day, with the stop and frisk and all the other stuff, they would literally fuck with Jake just because they had the power to, man.
Right.
So we're at a point now to where that mindset is gonna come back, but it's gonna come back with a vengeance. They're gonna just start killing niggas like they used to, man.
Mm-hmm. Verse 8, it says, they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression, that they speak loftily.
Right, because they don't see nothing wrong, all right, with killing a nigga, man. This is why when BLM, had came about, it was immediately countered by, Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, because what essentially, what we're getting at, the topic of the lesson is Babylon is truly showing you that it's fuck Jake. These devils are showing you they don't give a fuck about you so-called Negro Latino Native Americans, man. Because as we're seeing everything that's being pushed in the media through Trump, through the news, through just everything you see on TV, the movies and shows, you are being shown as the face of all the problems in the world. So as America continues to crumble, who are these Edomites going to look at as the problem? All right, you niggas, man. Here it is. You complain about being poor. Jake is the face of welfare, which we know is more Edomites on welfare than Jake. But Jake is looked at as a charity case. Jake was looked at as the one that put Joe Biden in the office, which led to the decline of America. Jake is being used to blame for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is saying all the shit that's going on that's wrong with the country. He blaming it on niggas, man. So you are being looked at as the face of the problem, but really Babylon is crumbling, and Esau needs a fall guy, man. And you niggas happen to be that.
Mm-hmm. Verse 9, it says, they set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth.
Mm-hmm. And that's why at the end of the day, Esau feels like they're gods on this earth because they can literally do whatever they want. They can enact their own forms of justice. All right. There is no true justice within our eyes, because even when you look at the court system, just using the situation with the Jake again, man, there was no true justice that was given for his son. That's why he crashed out like that, man. But that was all the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua that allowed that to happen, man. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You got a precept?
You want me to grab something?
Genesis 10 and 9 and 10.
This is Genesis
49 and 9 and 10. So like you.
This is Genesis 49 and verse 9. It says, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
Right, because here it is, all these years that Jake was fighting, all right, against police oppression, against, Jim Crow, the racism that these devils were showing, all these different things that Jake was acknowledging was wrong with the country and how we're being oppressed in Babylon. When Esau gave Jake jobs, Jake left that fight left him. This is why these old coon niggas, they'll fight tooth and nail for this damn for this system. But the Lord is gonna break that spirit, man, which is why we're starting to see these videos of Esau and Jacob pretty much being roused up, which is going to go into continuing on. Go ahead.
Verse 10, it says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet.
Oh, so like that was it. I mean, just verse 9. I didn't even put 10.
Okay, fine.
So yeah, like I was saying, the spirit of the Lord is raising up both Jake and Esau, Get Zechariah 11:5, because
Con.
everything that is being done is done for the purpose of, we see the Lord about to make this this powder keg explode, man. Because this racial tension has been going on for years, and you notice really is every 4 years when the president is either on the campaign trail or when they're in their first year of office. Esau always raises up this racial tension, because really what all this is energy harvesting. Because what we're seeing is a ritual being done so that Esau can pretty much go forth with these enchantments more and more, man. So you're seeing the Carmelo Anthony situation. You're seeing the I forget the nigga's name that we just had on the screen that ran the deputy over. These different things are being done on purpose. So, like I said, to pretty much harvest energy so that Esau can bring forth his next enchantment, man. Because we're heading into the next phase of prophecy, which is going to be Jacob's trouble, man. All right, all out hell being pushed on you tribes, man.
You said Zechariah, what chapter?
11:5.
This is Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 5. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
Right. So here it is. You Jakes are witnessing, us being pretty much, oppressed, murdered, no justice being given to us, and it's continually getting worse and worse and worse. And you're looking at, there's no justice coming to us, and these Edomites don't look at all guilty about this, man. All right, because when Biden was in office, you saw a spirit of what they call white guilt, to where they was feeling bad about the things that was done in history, all the way up until what we seeing now, where he was going on a apology tour right before he got out of office, man. And when Trump got back in, he was saying, "Nah, fuck all that, man. Hey, there's no reason to be ashamed of what our ancestors did. That was all being done so that we could have the country that we have now, man." So he's stirring up that Edomite pride again, which is why we're seeing the scientific racism. All right, to where they're all using catalysts to show you this is why we have to get these niggas out of here, man. All right, these Jakes are nothing more than animals that need to be corralled and then exterminated, man. Which is why, like I said, he's putting these things on the books to pretty much make it to where they have an excuse to come down on Jake, man.
All right, I got a quick precept.
You got it.
It's Psalms chapter 50 and verse 19. Verse 20, it says, thou sittest, in which this is going into, Esau, Edom. But it says, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. And this is ultimately going into, those situations that are being set up, via, Esau, Edom upon Jake. I'm gonna get this word for slanderous. The word for slanderous, it says H54:14, Nathan. And it says, I'm gonna go straight to the point. It says to give anyone into custody. All right, and it says to set, to put, to place snares. So pretty much Esau is the one that's essentially, which Jake is, going off by when dude had, pretty much ran into the officers, you see. But essentially Esau is the one that's orchestrating these things on the left-hand side and trying to point the finger, you see. So Esau is going to, get his just due as well, pursuant to Psalms 28 and verses 3 to verse 4.
Because it's to add to you, because it's a reason why Yahweh Shem Yahushai isn't allowing judgment to be, or justice to be brought to us yet, because he wants that spirit started, like we just read in Genesis 49. So the more and more that Jake is seeing that no justice is being brought to us, that anger is going to spill over. And like we said at camp, the Lord is going to rouse up these YNs, and these YMBs to pretty much be the catalyst, or be the ones to go after these Edomites, man. All right. Because that dude, he didn't look like he was, too old, man. He could have been in his like late 30s, early 40s, maybe. But we're gonna see these little niggas, these young niggas, man. They're gonna be getting busy on Esau, because as TikTok and different things are showing, the inner workings of what this devil is doing and how he's fucking our people up, you're gonna start seeing a lot of Jake, taking matters into their own hands, like like what that nigga did, man. Because as he was being walked back, you could see the pride that was in his eyes. He was like, yo, fuck you devils. I ain't scared of y'all, man. And that's the spirit the Lord wants on the earth out of our people. Because that being crouched down, scared to look at Edomites in their eye, that shit is slowly going out the window because the Lord wants our people to be roused up, man. Now, we're not advocating for Jake to go do it, but that's the point of what everything is being done because hey, these race wars have to come to fruition, man.
I got a quick one. This is Job 20 and verse 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, you see. So as this devil is fulfilling, the sufficiency of his NWO, he's gonna reach adversity each step, you see, because ultimately pursuant to Psalms, the 64th chapter, going into how their tongues shall fall upon themselves. So everybody ultimately is seeing the wickedness of this devil. You see, nobody wants anything to do with his NWO, but it says every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Now I want to get this word for wicked, and it says Aimal, and it says laborer, sufferer, wretched one, workman, sufferer. So chiefly that's going into Jake, so a lot of Jake's is going to be getting busy on Esau. The Lord is essentially rousing that spirit up.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, this will bring justification for Esau to come down on Jake with that great wrath, man. Right, a real quick one. You have more on that?
Wow.
All right, this is Revelation 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. Right. So Esau Edom is allowing these, these narratives to be put out here through his media, which is, another form of his witchcraft, so that he can be justified and bringing this harshness upon Jake. Now, we had this video with Trump, speaking about how they're about to, bring in a martial law, for Jake.
We need the crime is most rampant right here at the African American community.
Salaki, I don't think the volume was long here.
Safety and defend our communities for law-abiding American citizens. We need the crime is most rampant right here at the African American communities, and more people see me and they say, "Sir, we want protection. We want police to protect us. We don't want to get robbed and mugged and beat up or killed because we want to walk across the street to buy a loaf of bread." They want it so badly. The fake news doesn't talk about it. But the black population wants law enforcement more than any other population. So
now you have this on top of Sluggy, the echo up. You have this on top of the bill that Trump just passed, to where he's given police the ability to use brute force and not worry about being penalized if they fuck niggas up, man. So this is all the beginning of Jacob's trouble. Could you grab that in Jeremiah 30 and 7?
This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. And it says, alas, I'm starting from verse 6. It says, ask ye now, verse 5, it says, but thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
Yeah, and that's going to be the spirit that's going to be on Jake in that time, because hey, it's going to get so bad out here to where people are literally going to lose it, man. They're going to be, why is going to be the main question that people are going to be asking in that time, man. Why is the Lord allowing this to happen to us, man? Go ahead.
Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved.
Real quick, it says it's the time of Jacob's trouble, because judgment, as it says in 1 Peter 4 and 17, is going to happen, at the house of God first. All right, the Lord's people, you're going to be the main one the Lord is going to visit during this time, which is why it says this is the time of Jacob's trouble. This is why everything that you're seeing has been centered around the tribes, man. Ever since the Demic, Esau has been openly declaring their war against you tribes out here, man. All right, when you go into we've been speaking of for the last few weeks about the what was the book called, the Silent Weapons for Silent War or something like that.
Yeah, Silent Weapons for Secret Wars.
Secret Wars, right? So Esau has been declaring war on Jake for the longest, but we're at a point now to where you had from the first generation of warfare all the way to the fifth. We're in the fifth generation of warfare, which is Esau Edom openly declaring a war on you, Jace, and he's doing that through his media. He's doing that through propaganda. I'm pull this up real quick while you're looking for that, just to show you that, man. Hey, Jacob's trouble is going to be a hard time out here for niggas, man.
I'll go ahead and read it.
You got it.
Con, this is a excerpt, and it pretty much says everything that is. It says descriptive and introduction of the silent weapon are pursuant to Psalm 64. But it says everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. It shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of chemical reaction explosion, originating from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder, from a computer instead of a gun, operated by a computer programmer instead of a marksman, under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. It makes no obvious explosive noises, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. And pretty much, that describes the silent weapons for secret wars, you see, because ultimately, Esau has been against, Jake, going back to, Genesis the 27th chapter, so everything that essentially destroys Jake, all right, via, it comes by way of, the laws, all right, the socioeconomic problems that Jake runs into, the lifestyle, how it's set up to where, in Jake communities, what you got? You got Food Line. Right beside Food Line, you got a Chinese food store place where they selling rat, they selling cat. All right, the gas station, you got Mike's Hard, you got the 40s. All right, essentially it's strategically set up that way, just like how, Jake is predominantly in the inner city areas, and how Esau has set it up to where it's nothing but pollution, light pollution, sound pollution. All right, all of these things comprised in those silent weapons for those secret wars.
Yeah, because like I said, it's been a different generation of warfare that's been, declared upon our people, and Jake don't even realize it. Let's just read through this briefly. This is from ChatGPT. It says first generation warfare. It says line and column battles. Second generation warfare, firepower and industrialized war. In fact, I'll read through it briefly. So just the different details. So dealing with first generation warfare and how it was applied to Jake. This is the era of direct conventional conflict, what we might call visible war. For Black people, especially during slavery and colonialism, this was physical domination and enslavement, military enforcements of slave codes, colonization of African lands, and the violent suppression of resistance, public state-sanctioned violence, lynchings, whippings, and executions. In essence, the war was physical, brutal, and openly declared. Now, going into second generation warfare, dealing with firepower and industrialized war, applied to Black people as tactics evolved, oppressions became more bureaucratic, but still overt, like you were saying, how they pretty much went into, the judicial system and the laws and all that. It says Jim Crow laws, and racial segregation, redlining and systematic exclusion from economic opportunities, police forces becoming modernized and used as tools of racial control, which we've been talking about that earlier. Anti-Black riots and programs. In essence, institutions became the battlefield and law was the weapon. All right. So going into third generation of warfare, maneuver warfare, said this generation involved outflanking and psychological operations. This system adapted. Civil rights movements were met with COINTELPRO, infiltration and disinformation. Psychological warfare, media portrayal of Black leaders as radical or dangerous. The rise of the war on drugs, beginning strategic cultural attacks the dismantling of Black Power movements through internal divisions and external sabotage. Can you hold that Genesis 27? Because that's what we're talking about right now. In essence, the enemy moved from open confrontation to subversion, misdirection, and divide and conquer. Fourth generational warfare, non-state actors, ideological, asymmetric. Now the warfare is decentralized and fought through culture, economics, and information. Privatized prisons, criminalization of blackness, school to prison pipeline, economic warfare, industrialization of Black urban centers, gentrification, cultural control, hyper commercialism of certain images of Blackness in music, film, and advertisement, education systems failing to reach true Black history, to teach true Black history and achievements. In essence, the battlefield is in the mind, the economy, and the narrative. Now we're in fifth generational warfare, to where it says this is warfare without a visible enemy, fought through algorithms, memes, data, and perception. Misinformation campaigns targeted at Black communities, for example, election interference, health conspiracies, weaponized AI and surveillance in Black neighborhoods, social media manipulation, trends, and viral content that subtly influence culture, values, and choices, psychological warfare, feeding nihilism, division, and distraction through digital means. In essence, it's not about bullets, it's about beliefs, identity, and perception. Now we got to the point to where the fifth generational warfare was Esau has perfected his molding of Jake to make them the problem in the earth. So, like we said, the accuser of our brethren, he's made it to where they're through this last this last wave of warfare, how they were able to pretty much control the minds of Jake. When you look at the YNs, the YNBs, the music, the everything about how Jake is represented, they're the problem. And this is why Esau is going to be justified in his eyes to go down on Jake, man, because what he is really doing is fulfilling that promise that he made within himself and how he's about to kill his brother, man.
God, it's Genesis 27 and verse 41. It says, and Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Yaakov.
Yeah, because what it is a deep-rooted hatred that Esau harbors for Jake, whether these Joe Six-Pack Edomites are going all the way to the elites that they have in Jake, because it's in us to be clashed against each other, man. All right, because it's literally good versus evil. All right, so Esau Edom, all right, is doing this, all right, for the whole, sake of him trying to get his birthright back. So if they feel in their heart, if they can exterminate Jake, all right, completely off the earth, then they have a chance of getting their birthright back. That's not going to happen. But that internal hatred that burns in these Edomites is about to be let out as Esau is about to be given that green light to come down upon you niggas, man. All right. Grab Genesis 4 and start at verse 15 and then jump down to 23 and 24. Because what this is showing is, once again, that spirit of that's in Esau, because what we're about to read is dealing with the line of Cain. All right, because the same thing of what we're seeing with Cain, the Lord is pretty much playing out in the Edomites today. You got it.
Genesis 4 and verse 15, it says, and the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him.
Right, because when you read up in the chapter, we understand the story that Cain slew Abel, because Abel, put forth a righteous sacrifice and was accepted, and Cain put forth a sacrifice and was rejected. So the punishment that the Lord had for Cain was that he gave him, that curse, which is leprosy, to where, Cain pretty much was, made to what we see now, a clean leopard. And that was to show that is the sign that he is the sons of the wicked. All right. And Esau Edom was eventually born through that seed line that goes back to Cain. All right. And through that, we understand that goes back to them, because in the same essence, the Lord said he has a hedge around Cain. So he told Cain that, look, if somebody kills you, vengeance will come upon them sevenfold. And we see that in today's time, because if Jake take it upon themselves to kill an Edomite, the Most High will allow Esau to get busy on them. And the perfect example that comes to mind when I think about stuff like that is that cop, I think it was in LA, Christopher Dorner, when he went and killed those cops, and it was fucking, I don't know how many of them, but they Swiss cheese that nigga. He was on a run for a few days, and they found him in the house out in the woods, and they shot that house up excessively, man. That nigga got Swiss cheese, you know. But showing you the Lord is saving the judgment for Esau, you know, for himself. It's not on us to take matters into our own hands, man. That's why the Lord said, you know, wait upon him, for vengeance is his, you know.
If you even touch an Edomite cop, if you even smack him, they'll jump Jake, or they might even, you know, shoot him. It was one instance to where I can't remember what Jake did, but they pretty much got the dog on this Jake woman and ripped her leg up, you know.
Damn. Hey, it's even with the dog, because shit, if you kill an Edomite dog, Edomite dog, you kill a police dog, and that's like killing a person, bro. You get multiple years in jail, bro.
Mm-hmm. Going to Genesis 4 and verse 24. You said 23 and 24?
23, yeah.
This is Genesis 4 and 23. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt.
Mm-hmm.
If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
Right. So Lamech was a descendant of Cain, man. All right. So Lamech understood that Cain had a hedge. So when you read, you know, that goes into like the seed line, you know, Tubal Cain and all that. Esau eventually came out of that line, but the same spirit that Lamech had, these Edomites truly have that in today's time, man, to where they feel like they're protected if something were to, you know, somebody were to come up against them, especially if it was a Jake, man. So this is why they can go around and kill niggas with no remorse and have no sympathy for it, because they know that if something were to happen in retribution to them, they know that their fellow man is gonna you know, avenge them, you know.
Right, and that's what they teach in they you know, they different systems, whether it be, you know, law enforcement or military. You know, Esau don't move on nobody unless he understands that he ultimately outnumbers them. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they in that spirit of, look, you gonna have to get it back in blood, man. You know, they don't play, bro. But this is just showing you that's the spirit of these devils, man. Okay. Mm-hmm. So from there, let's go to Psalm 17 and 13. Because as we know, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is the one that's controlling the minds of these devils. So what we're seeing Trump preparing, okay, is allowing these devils, you know, free reign to run down on you Israelites, man.
This is Psalms 17 and verse 13. It says, arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
Continue on verse 14.
Verse 14, it says, from men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure.
Right.
They are full of.
No, go ahead.
God, they are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. Right.
So Esau Edom is that sword of the Most High that he uses to punish the wicked of our people. All right. And it shows you that it said from men that are thy hand. All right. So the Lord has a physical sword, which is these Edomite, you know, so-called white men, to pretty much, you know, beat a whooping stick for when our people go off, man. All right. When you see a nigga get shot down in the street, when you see, you know, Jake getting, you know, falsely accused or get railroaded, whatever, those are judgments that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, you know, allowed Esau to do to Jake, all right, for their wickedness, man. All right, and we understand that. As it says, talking about the hidden treasure, the hidden treasure is Jake. This is why Esau, being a new pharaoh, refuses to let his slaves go, because they understand the significance of what Jake, you know, brings to their economy, man. to their kingdom, you know. But we're at a point in time now to where Esau is you know, seeing that Jake is pretty much of no use now because they have AI. So they're ready to pretty much, you know, genocide you niggas out off the earth because now you're expendable because they got the robots. They can make their own music through the robots. They can, you know, make Hollywood, you know, Hollywood films, so your actors not needed. Hell, they got robot athletes now, man. You know, they got the robot that was shooting the threes. They had a robot run a marathon. I don't know if you saw that.
Wow. No.
Yeah, they got a marathon running robot, man. You know, so Esau has pretty much got it to where Jake is no longer needed, man. That's why we see the sword being furbished. We can get that Ezekiel 21:9 or 21:8 through 11.
God, this is Ezekiel chapter 21 and verse 8. It says, "Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus saith the Lord, a sword is sharpened and also furbished.
Mm-hmm.
It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth?"
Right. Now we know the ultimate sword being the ICBM nuclear missiles, but the sword that, you know, we're speaking on in this instance is Esau. All right,
Mhm.
the Edomite man. All right, so his sword is being furbished. Esau is preparing to go to war with Jake. This is why
Yeah.
you're seeing the militia groups being, you know, formed. All right, Jake is, you know, pretty much being, you know, used as targets in the gun range. All right, and Esau has been, you know, making tactics to pretty much getting ready to kill. They're already talking about, you know, allowing Esau to self-deputize. It's about to be all hell on Jake, man. So this ain't the time for you to be goddamn murking it up, man.
Kind of, you got, you know, the actual military. We just seen, you know, Trump talking about, you know, setting martial law. You see, but then also you're gonna have those that came from those backgrounds that are into deputizing themselves. Then
Yep.
not to mention the militia groups, and
Yep.
then also they got the young Edomites out there, you know, shooting at targets and prepping up. So you know they about to get busy on 2/3. You know.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot more Dylan Roofs, you know, these different, you know, shooters. They're all gonna have their targets on Jake in that time, man.
Back to Ezekiel 21 and verse in the latter verse 9, it says, a sword is sharpened and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contamineth the rod of my son as every tree,
Mm-hmm.
and he hath given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer.
Yeah, and the Slayer is the Edomites, man. All right. When you're going into this, I believe the original story was dealing with the Assyrians, if I'm not mistaken. You know, but the modern day Slayer is the Edomites, man, because they're the ones in the power seat right now. All right. So it will behoove you, Jakes, man, to you know, help fortify your relationship with the Lord while you still have a chance to build your hedge. Because what we're going to see very soon is all out bloodshed being done on niggas out here, man. And Esau is going to be publicizing it, and they're going to be justifying it, man. And the main ones they're going to be coming out there in that time is the men of the Lord as well, man. You know, so this is why we pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you know, that He cover us with His wings, so that we're overpassed when that judgment comes, like it was during Egypt the first time, man. All right, you got some?
You want me to grab some?
Yeah, get Revelation 12 and 17.
This is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 17. It says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed,
Mm-hmm.
which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach.
Right. So, you know, just looking at it, you know, through a spiritual eye, these different events that we're speaking of, you know, as far as in the news and everything, that's going to be the catalyst to allow Esau to have the narrative to be able to run down on the men of the Lord, because that's their main target. All right. Yeah, he wants to get rid of Jake in general, but the main one that he's after is the men of the Lord, man. Okay. So, like I said, he's going to make war with the remnant of her seed because the elect, the prophets, are the true believers. We're the main ones that's the problem for this this man's kingdom, man. Because of us chanting down, Babylon telling this devil that he's about to go in slavery, that all his efforts of trying to obtain godhood is all coming to an end. So he's going to come at us the most, man. But he's going to use these different examples of these unruly niggas, these 2/3 niggas, as a reason to label all Jacob problems. But then he's going to focus in even more on the prophets, man. All right. So let's not get it twisted, man. All right. The dragon being, the Edomites. All right. But the woman being Israel, man. But the remnant, as I said, they're going to come after the prophets, man. All right. Go ahead. Oh, that was the point. That get Isaiah 59:19. We got two more.
So Isaiah 59:19. It says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him."
You can break it down.
God says, when the enemy, all right, pursuant to Esau, Edom, all right, when he comes with the Gerger troopers and the different troops that he's going to come with, it says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood. And when you look at a flood, all right, a flood isn't just just kind of runs and trickles. That's coming with intensity. It's rushing, and that's how Esau moved. When he's moving militaristically and his different advancements. But it says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, with that great intensity, it says the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And that standard, this word for standard, it says right here, H51:27, it says Nasasa, all right, and it says to flee, escape, to flee, in which if I could mention too, the word it goes to is not wash, but in the specific verse it says Nasasa, the ha is right there, to behold, you see, because ha is a statement of faith. Ultimately, something has already happened or is going to happen. You see, it's just that, the elect again are going to have faith on that, and the Lord is going to essentially, raise up that standard. But it says H51:27, it says not wash, it says to flee, escape, to take flight, depart, disappear, to fly, to attack, to the attack on horseback. I'm gonna skip down. It says to put to flight, lift up a standard, deliver. So it's going to be various different means that the Lord delivers the elect. You see, which is going to come by means of the spiritual power. So it'd be brothers that's flying. It could be brothers that ultimately disappear. All right, it could be brothers that essentially pursuant to Ba'al-Sirach, the 17th chapter, in the 5th verse, it talks about the senses, where the Lord can essentially take the sense of touch. You can touch the ground and be like, all right, boom. All right, the enemy is this far, give brother super hearing. That's nothing to the Lord, The Lord can give somebody super sight to where it's like, okay, now I won't need to go that way. Or, you can taste the air, or hey, it's danger close, It's just different spiritual examples.
Ultimately, divine intervention.
Right.
Jake is going to need that, all right, as we got this precept from the brother Odie 144K. Shalom to all the the brothers and sisters that's tuning in. Shalom to the Zaquans. But 2nd Ezra 16:70. But there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, and they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. But like you said, the Lord is going to lift up a standard, all right, to protect the elect. Now, 2/3 that don't got the hedge, they will get mowed down. All right, we're not concerned with them. All right, we're only concerned with the elect, those that's trying to actually repent and serve the Lord in truth and sincerity. You are going to be protected in that day as long as you do right by Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. So we have nothing to worry about as long as we continue to strive lawfully, man. But this is the spirit of what we're trying to put out there to show you this is where everything is headed, man. All right, is all this narrative, all the laws and everything that's about to be put in place, is ultimately about to come down on the men of the Lord. We're the main targets, man. Everybody else is just collateral damage because they're going to be mowing down their own people as well. But the main ones are the ones that's out here prophesying and bringing the spirit of the Lord back into his people, man. All right. So from there, let's get Isaiah 13, 14, and 15, and we'll close it out from that.
You said Isaiah what?
13 and 14. Because another thing we want to make mention of is the Lord is going to pretty much, flip the narrative. Because as we talked about that lifting up a standard, you mentioned, brothers gaining that spiritual power. What you think the brothers are going to be doing as far as saving others? We're going to be getting busy on these devils too, man. There's that Jeremiah 52 about how the Lord said he was going to make us a new instrument, new threshing instrument having teeth. Okay, that's power we're going to get, Lord willing, we're of that number, man. And we're going to put you devils to flight. All right, so all the injustices that we are being, forced to witness and take part of, that script is going to flip, and you devils are going to be on the run, man. You got it.
Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 14, it says, "And it shall be as the chase roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land."
Right, because it's going to come a point to where you got, these nations all going back to their own kind. So you coon jakes that still don't want to accept the fact that Esau Edom is, the devil. Once he begins to show his horns and start to come down upon Jake, hey, Jake is going to go back to his kind. Esau going to go back to his kind. The heathen going to go back to their kind. The Lord is, like you said, he's taking that melting pot spirit off of Babylon, man. All right. As it said, there shall be a chase row, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, because these YNs, the spirit is going to be put on these 2/3 to go after Jake, because we're not going to be doing that until we get the power. But the Lord's going to rouse up the spirit in these 2/3 niggas to get busy on Jake, man. I mean, get busy on Esau and other nations as well. All right, so Esau is going to feel that terror too, because like you brought out earlier in Job, all right, those straits, that's part of them straits, man. Is Esau feeling that terror too? Esau is aware that Jake knows that they have, the food stocked up, the water. All right. Jake got guns too. All right. Esau might got more, but Jake got guns too. So Jake gonna be raiding them damn rich neighborhoods, putting them down the Edomites to death, taking them hostage, raping they women or whatnot. It's gonna be all these niggas gonna be doing all type of shit, just as Esau's gonna be doing, man. Go ahead.
Verse 15, "Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword."
Right. So cool niggas that don't want to let go of the devil, you Israelite women that want to continue to do the swirl dance with Esau, hey, you're gonna be put to death with this devil, when Yahweh Shem Yahweh brings that destruction to this earth, man. All right, you're gonna die in that time, but then ultimately, if you still want to be joined to Babylon in this time, after everything that we've shown you of how this country is pretty much telling you fuck you to your face, you're gonna die with this place, man. It is what it is.
God.
You can read 16. I think that's still on point too.
Verse 16, "Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished."
Right. So like I said earlier, man, Esau's gonna feel that same pain that Jake's gonna feel in that time. Because once the Lord puts the spirit on these niggas to wild out, hey, they're gonna be putting their kids to death. So Esau gonna be feeling the same feeling that Jake, has when they see their children being put to death. They said their wife's gonna be ravaged, which another word for ravish is rape. All right, and all that. So they're gonna feel that same terror because Esau got to feel that judgment. Because once you realize that, look, after Jacob's trouble, it's gonna be Esau's trouble. So now he's gonna start feeling that them plagues too, man. Matter of fact, we can end with Isaiah 14 and 21. Yeah, that's an oldie but goodie. We ain't brought that out in a long time.
God is Isaiah. So
Go ahead.
God is Isaiah 14 and verse 21. It says, "Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities."
Right. So as we were going into earlier, how there has no judgment being shown to our people. Esau's gonna start feeling that as his kingdom is brought down, man. All right, as we get closer and closer to the time of Yahweh Shem Yahweh returning, the Lord is gonna allow Jake to bring that same pain onto these devils because they gotta pay. All right, those cops that killed those that Jake, his son, they're gonna pay. all the injustice that we read about, the Trayvon Martin, the Michael Brown, I forgot the one nigga that had the cigarette, Eric Brown or Gardner, whatever his name is, the statue that they made of the one Jake, you know, all these different injustices that we saw over the years. Judgment is going to be retribution is going to be given to them in the form of these 2/3 getting busy on them before they're destroyed alongside these devils, man. All right, so we're going to see that being done to these devils as well.
Scripture said, I got it right here. This is Job 27 and verse 14. It says, if his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring should not be satisfied with bread. You know, so ultimately, you know, Esau Edom is not getting away scot-free, you know,
Right.
so he's going to be destroyed. Those that's not destroyed, they can be rounded up, you know, to be first fruits in slavery.
That's it, man. The elites, okay, and the Edomites around the world and the country that don't get destroyed, they're gonna be put in slavery too. All right. So hey, this is just, you know, the spirit just allowing you to see this is where all this is headed, man. All right, prophecy is playing out right before our eyes, man. This is why you got to constantly be on your watch, man. Esau is making moves, all right, and he's becoming more bolder and bolder. But in the spirit, the Lord is showing us that he's being emboldened to show the elect that look, our time is coming as well, man. So just as much as you see niggas getting scared because they see that sword coming, we're you know standing bold as those lions because we know that power's gonna come on our side and we're gonna be able to withstand when Esau, you know, brings that wave upon us, man. All right. But yeah, anything else?
Nah.
All right, so hey, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. We're gonna close it out right here. We want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect. Until next time, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.